My name is Erin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Erin Lindauer, and today we're going to go into a really deep topic on, are you numbing out on your life? And so this one is going to be pretty intense, and I'm a pretty intense person anyways, so we're just going to dive right into this. But are you numbing out on life? You know, I get it. We get complacent. We think, okay, this is good enough. My life is fine. Everything's okay. We think, man, I shouldn't have to work any harder. You know, I've put my time in, or we don't really want any more for ourselves. And I was on a walk this morning, and a lot of times when I'm on my walks, or funny enough, when I'm in the shower, I come up with a lot of my content, believe it or not. And I'm always like typing in my phone. I have just a million notes of different content and ideas and just thoughts that come into my mind. And this one this one smacked me pretty hard this morning. And I was excited to just sit down at my computer and start really typing out my notes and preparing this topic for you today, because this is something that I see over and over and over again, and it 100% holds women back, men too. And it's absolutely what was holding me back. And it hit me like a ton of bricks this morning, because I was like, holy, you know what, Erin, you are numbing out on life. You are not allowing yourself to fully go all in on what it is that you deserve, what it is that you desire, what it is that you want, and why. And so here's what I know. And again, I can only speak on these topics because these are things that I've experienced myself, but I witness it in coaching women intimately all day, every single day. And we do get complacent. We do think this is good enough. We do think, oh, I've put my time in. And the problem with this is we never reach our full potential. We're constantly just hoping and praying for different circumstances. We're wishing and praying that we'll lose weight. We're wishing, that we found the latest, greatest miracle drug or injection or whatever. And we think that there has to be like this easy button for everything in our life. Otherwise, we just don't do anything. And we find ourselves constantly escaping. We find ourselves self-medicating with alcohol. Maybe you have used drugs. Maybe you use TV. Television is called television programming for a reason. Or maybe you're mindlessly scrolling on your phone, or you're over-consuming food. And why do we do these things? And here's the thing. If I hadn't asked myself, why did you do this? Why? What is the purpose? I would never have come to the awareness that I have today that leads and drives my life. The problem is we are seeking the escape. And what are we escaping from? See, this is a question that I asked myself. Hey girl, what are you escaping from? Your life? But you created this life, didn't you? So I am a huge person of taking personal responsibility for everything that happens. Everything happens for me. Now, obviously, this has come with a lot of training, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of really, really hard questions being asked of myself. But I'm there. I'm in that space, and I love seeing just self-development and creating more and what else is possible type of vision. But I can appreciate that not everyone has this, because not everyone thinks that they can have what they deserve. Not everyone thinks that they get the life, that these are just the cards I was dealt, or this is a product of my surroundings, or, the way I was raised, or all these limiting beliefs that have been passed down generation after generation after generation. And for myself, I had to get wildly curious with, man, what else is possible? Why am I doing these things? Because when we self-medicate and we numb out, we have to ask the important question, what am I escaping from? See, when we ask this question and we get really clear on what we're escaping from, this is where we hold the cards to truly transforming our life. Now, there's a whole lot more that goes in, and I'm going to segue into that here in a second. But why would we numb out? Let's think about this. We had a bad day at work. Business isn't going the way we want. Someone said something mean to you. Family member disagreed with you. The certain political figure didn't get elected. And so we waller. We waller in this frustration, this self-doubt, the woe is me. And why? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, and this is something that I even share with our kids on a regular basis, is, hey, we get to choose our feelings. No one is making you feel sad. You maybe don't like something that happened, but at the end of the day, you get to choose your reaction or not having a reaction. And so we have to understand the real purpose and meaning to why are we escaping. When we come home at night and we know that we're going to cook, this nutritious meal because this is in alignment with my goals for my health, my wellness, but all of a sudden we're like, screw it, ordering takeout, and all of a sudden we pop open a bottle, pour ourselves a cocktail. We have to ask ourselves in that moment, why? Why am I choosing to do something that is going to, quote unquote, make you feel better in the moment, yet is not going to solve any of your problems, and if anything, is going to prevent you from actually seeing the results that you desire? This is a tough space. This is a space of super heightened awareness. In this moment that you're listening to this right now, you can logically say, gosh, Erin, I'm going to eat the food that I had planned instead of those things because, man, that keeps me in alignment to my goals. But then what happens at the end of the night when we're frustrated, when we're mad, when something didn't go our way? Do we throw the pity party? Most of the time we do. Most of the time we do, myself included. And so how do we break this cycle? Number one, you've got to be aware that, hey, I am self-medicating, where, you're scrolling mindlessly on social media, but you really need to have a conversation with your husband, or you're scrolling mindlessly on social media, yet your dog or your kids want your attention. Why do we do this? We numb out from the reality that we have created. If we don't like our reality, change it. And this is where I'm going to tell you all the secrets to every goal, to every dream, to everything that you've ever desired or wanted can happen in this moment. The moment to decide who has the control. Does the alcohol have control? Do the drugs have control? Does the TV or the mindlessly scrolling on your phone have the control? Who has the control? You do. You have the control over anything that you want and you desire by your actions. What happens, though, is it is so much easier to give in. But I want you to understand that you are transferring the power. The power no longer belongs to you. The power belongs to the food. The power belongs to scrolling social media, looking at other people's lives and wishing that you had this or that, right? Because it's not going to make you feel any better. The alcohol doesn't make you feel any better, but it's an escape. It's a moment in time where nothing else exists, or does it? See, you're creating your reality. You are creating your life. I was watching a gentleman that I highly regard. He has a very well-known program in the self-help development space. And I was watching him, show his new home and showing all of his cars and unapologetically saying, I created all of this. I created all of this out of the impact that I have created for others. And it really struck me because I was like, man, most people look at this and say, man, he's just showing off this or that. But that's the other person's perspective of themselves. And so I was just watching it and I was like, man, that's freaking awesome. Like, how cool is that he had a vision and he had a dream, that this is what he desired for his family. What if this was you? What if you were meant for more? What if you're being called in this life to show up differently? What if you actually listened to that voice, to that nudge, to that God, to that power, to that source? What if you listened? What if you got really, really quiet and understood that, man, there is way more to this life than what I'm doing? What if you knew that, man, I've got to get my health in check? Like, I can't keep saying screw it. I can't keep saying fuck it anymore. I have to take control of who I am, what I want, and what I deserve. The problem is most of us will just say screw it because we don't believe that we can do it. We don't believe that we're worth it, that we deserve it. And I'm here to tell you that that is just an excuse. That is just an excuse at its highest of levels. And I want you to understand that every time something happens, it's happening for you to learn, for you to explore, for you to create another path, to understand that it doesn't have to be hard. It's only hard when we resist it. See, this is something that's been happening in my life. I've been resisting the success, resisting what I have created, resisting going all in. And that has to stop. That has to stop now because there's so much more. There's so much more impact that I know that I can continue to have. There's so much more to me taking care of my body and not numbing out. There's so much more that we can create in this day and age and life that we are in. Yet so many of us just want to stay small. So many of us don't think our voice matters. So many of us think that this is it. This is, I reached the top. When you're being called for so much more in your life, you're being called to produce at a whole different level. Yet why do you resist? So I want you to ask yourself some really important questions. Why do we seek the escape? If you've had a health and wellness goal and you've wanted to lose weight or you wanted to, tone your body, have a certain body fat percentage, yet you haven't hit that result, why? Typically what it boils down to is the actions around our food, our exercise, alcohol consumption, not moving your body enough. And we have to ask ourselves, why are we not doing what it is that we desire? Why do I keep escaping and scrolling social media instead of going to bed? Why do I wake up scrolling social media instead of going and getting that walk in or that workout in? Why am I not taking time over the weekend to plan and prep my food, yet I can watch a million Netflix shows or whatever they're called? This is where we can get really, really real with ourselves because there's infinite possibilities for all of us in this life. Yet we need to continue to push further and push forward for the things that we want, for the things that we desire. And this will absolutely be worth it. Go get them.